21 Bridges. This movie really surprised me. And for those of you who don't know, 21 Bridges is a story about this NYPD detective, Andre Davis, and the night that he joins this citywide manhunt for 2 cop killers, where all of Manhattan's 21 bridges close down to prevent these suspects from escaping. But as the night unfolds, things turn to the unexpected, and we see Andre Davis kind of change who he initially targeted in the first place. So obviously we got Chadwick Boseman as Andre Davis, and he was really good in this movie, similar to J.K. Simmons as well, and he really surprised me. He performed really well as well. And I really enjoyed this movie because it was very entertaining, it was intense, suspenseful, and it was also surprisingly emotional. Like, I wasn't expecting it. Like, I really didn't know anything going into this movie, so I was surprised. I had low expectations. I went in and, it really surprised me. This movie shows the emotional sides of how it is being a police officer, not only for them, but also for their families as well. And I really like that aspect of the movie. So there'll just be these shots of these dead officers on the ground, and then somebody saying, oh, it'd be a pity, it'd be hard to tell, go knocking on their family's door and telling them what's happening. And I was thinking during the movie, like, they closed all of these 21 bridges, all just for these 2 guys. Like, that's crazy. Seems unrealistic, but, so these things can happen, so it's whatever. But the thing I love most about this movie is that it pays the same amount of attention to the antagonists as it does to the protagonists. So we see the stories of these 2 young cop killers and, their backstory, where they came from, what their goals are, their ideals. And then we see the cops trying to hunt them down and their ideals. And the risks that both of these parties are going into. And I really like that. There's not a lot of movies that celebrate the bad guys as much. And a lot of generic average action movies, they really don't pay attention to the antagonists at all. They're just there for decoration. They're just there to be the bad guys, and that's it. Well, not in this story. And I gotta say, I love the fact that this movie shows blood. It shows, all that stuff. It's not for little kids. It just shows the realism of the situation, which I quite liked. And like what I was saying about it showing the story of the bad guys, it shows how one of the guys, they didn't want to get into this life. They didn't want things to happen this way, they just got caught up in it, and it was very emotional at one stage of this movie. Because you see signs that they don't want to hurt these cops. They don't want to shoot them. They don't want to kill them and hurt their families. Although the last 20 or 30 minutes of this movie were really quite strange. Like, it just ended from something very intense to something very slow that kind of didn't really make sense and was kind of confusing to me. Like, I thought the movie was going to end, but then it didn't, and it dragged on for some more. And I thought the movie's runtime was shorter than I would have liked. Like, they could have expanded towards the middle, like the second act, which honestly was the best parts of the movie for me. And they could have expanded on the third act as well, and kind of make it less confusing, I guess. Because it was really sudden as it started to play out towards the end. Like, the pacing did feel kind of off. But, all in all though, if you're going into this with an open mind, I'm sure you'll really enjoy this movie. Don't have very high expectations. And I think the average viewer will enjoy this movie a lot. Even though, the critics' ratings aren't the highest right now. Fuck the critics. I'm going to give 21 Bridges a B. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Have you seen 21 Bridges? What did you think about it? Please leave a comment on your thoughts below. Like the video if you liked it, and drop a sub to help the channel out. Also, feel free to check out my previous video. Until next time.